Good morning. This is Angela Coulter bringing you this week's Living podcast and live stream. So I'm starting out with this interesting thing that came up, and it comes up a lot, and it was funny how it was pointed out to me earlier this week. But I wanted to talk about it because it's really important in terms of us stepping into our power, which is really part of the whole journey right now, So one of the things is this. So I'm going to tell you, my sister is she's a psychologist, right? Up in New York, successful, has has her own business and thriving firm. And talking to her the other day, it's this conversations we've had over the past several weeks. So we were talking, and because I have a musical background when I was a kid, I played piano and flute and, did chorus and sang and drama and all that kind of stuff. She said to me, she goes, so listen, I wanted to tell you something I've been really thinking about that I'm going to do. She said, I think I'm going to take piano lessons. And she's doing it with her granddaughter, my niece's daughter, who's 8. And, the thing is, my sister's never, she loves music, but she's never played music or been part of that. That was just, she was into other things. So, oh, that'd be great. I said, that's awesome. Of course, that's awesome. Learning something new, right? And she had much hesitation about it. She's like, well, and then she starts giving me all these excuses, right? She starts saying things like, well, I'm tone deaf, and I don't know if I'm ever going to do anything. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm like, of course I'm like, you're smart. I'm like, you have the capability just like anybody else. Of course you can do it. But here's the thing. Her entire life, she's been being told she's tone deaf. She doesn't have musical ability, all that kind of stuff. So in her head, it's prevented her. She probably wanted to learn it before now, but this is the first she's allowing herself to do it. It's sort of a crazy thing because I laugh a lot because I laugh a lot about this because when I have people come into me in session work and whatever, a lot of times it's for me, a part of the purpose of our discussion is simply for me to tell them, of course you can do that. Why wouldn't you? If you is asking you or telling you to do this, don't stop with the ego and judge yourself, because the judgments come from what other people have told you, expectations around you, whatever. If your heart is telling you to do something, then just do it. So it's funny because we've had several conversations. And the reason I told you she's a psychologist is it's funny because she's a psychologist, right? And so we're talking about, over the past several weeks, and we're talking about it. And she would say again, and she'd say, oh, well, and it was really interesting because she even said the teacher said, oh, well, that they found, right? Oh, well, I'm not as, it's not as rigorous. It's not as, I'm not as focused on adults as I am kids, because, the adults are never going to get to Carnegie Hall and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, but, she's only 8. And I'm thinking, well, that's really not the reason to take piano lessons. So she had said that several times. And I said, look, first of all, don't know that I like the feeling of the energy of this piano teacher, but that's for you to decide when you start. And I said, but here's the thing. You take it because your heart's telling you to take it. I said, and for an 8-year-old, it should be fun. I said, for all of us, it should be fun. Everything should be fun. We can give ourselves permission, again, for things to be fun. So this is really important. Because how long has my sister talked herself out of doing anything like that, musical or whatever? Because people have said things to her, because she's convinced herself, because she feels like blank, right? How many times do we do this to ourselves? I'm too old. I don't have the ability. I'm too heavy. I'm too thin. I'm not good enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough. All that kind of stuff. We prevent ourselves from stepping into what our heart's telling us to do, because we believe that we can't, right? So it was funny, as when we were talking about that whole thing with the piano, I said, listen, said, stop saying that you're tone deaf. Stop saying you don't have the ability. Of course you have the ability. You just haven't had the access to it. You haven't tried. And yeah, some people it comes more naturally than others, but that doesn't mean not everybody can do it. And how do you even know? Because you haven't even tried yet. And, why start an 8-year-old playing piano with this thought of, oh, well, she could play in Carnegie Hall. How about she just is going to learn how to speak a different language, because that's essentially what music is. And that's really a language from the heart. Music is a language beyond words, right? Art is expression beyond words. So the arts, that's what they do. And so like my friend Ann McKenzie, I saw her do actually the other day, just happened to catch it when I was online, and she was talking about, expressing ourselves in the arts and allowing ourselves to do that, because that's what I said to my sister, figuring she'd understand this as a psychologist, is, well, music accesses the right brain, and the right brain is where intuition is, where, non-linear concepts are, things like that, if you want to get really, 3D and physical about it. And I'm like, and it's a great way to, like, oh, she's, yeah, I figured it's a good way to de-stress and things like that, and sort of get out of the day and get out of my head. And I'm like, exactly. So that's one like little stint right there on the arts and stuff. I know a lot of people, I have a lot of clients right now who are exploring music and they've never done it before. I have several clients who've just taken up guitar. I have several who've never even learned how to like read music either, and they're all in their like 40s, 50s. So what happens is we get stuck in these cycles of self-doubt, self-limitation, by saying things and by hearing things of other people saying, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that because you got to do this. You can't do that because of this and this and this, or you have to do that, or you should do that. And then we never explore these parts of ourselves that we really could blossom into if we allowed. And not only that, but here's the thing. Arts are great. And I'm going to say, it's not just arts. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about a career. I'm talking about any kind of passion and trying new things, right? First of all, it keeps us active. And if you want to talk about the physical, the brain, right, stays much more engaged. And we retain our sense of memory and everything much better and things like that as we learn new things, right? Or do new things. But we get so used to saying, well, I've always done it that way. I've always been here. We're so used to this foundation of comfort that the ego likes to dwell in, that that we talk ourselves out of things that we might really enjoy, right? One of the biggest things, this is what I work with a lot of clients on, has to do with what we do for a living, because we have been brought up to believe that what we do for a living has to be hard, that we have to, that it's basically, you got to tough down and do this so that you can get a paycheck and then do the things that you really enjoy. But what if we really changed it around so that we say, how about we look at the things that we really enjoy, delve into it, find our passion in it, and then have that be what brings us money? Because then we don't have to separate anything in our lives, and it's all fun and we enjoy every day. One of the things that I find so interesting and unfortunate is that I see up on Facebook and social media and everything, every Monday I see like, oh, it's Monday, or things geared toward, oh, is it Friday yet, and everything else. And I'm thinking, wow, how much we discount what 5/7. What's 5/7? Like in a digital manner? I don't know, in a decimal, in a percentage manner. I mean, that's a lot of our time. Let's say what, 80%? 80% of our time we're trying to wish away because we're not enjoying the week. But what if you do something in your life every day that nourishes you, that allows you to truly be who you are and expand your heart and really emanate like your uniqueness? What if that's what you did for a living? Then you wouldn't ever have that. I don't ever have that. I worked in corporate for 17 years, and I've talked about this on multiple occasions. I worked in corporate in 17 years. I had a great job, great paycheck, and everything else. But I had that same kind of thing. Oh, where in the week are we? Is it close? How close to Friday are we? Can't wait till the weekend to do this, right? And I finally, yes, it's come different steps along the way. I had a couple different businesses, but I've been doing this kind of work since 2011. It is the most satisfying, fun, magical, expressive work that I have ever done, and pure to my heart, so that I get up in the morning and I just think, yay, what am I to do today? What am I going to do today? And I'm not thinking about what's Friday. I'm not thinking about what's this week. Is it this weekend or whatever? It's what am I doing now? It allows me to stay in the present place of saying, I love this moment. And I look forward to the next one because I allow myself to be who I really am. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't have to be in the arts. It doesn't have to be you could be, the garbage person. It doesn't matter. If that's what you love to do, if you love doing that, look at what you love to do, and then find a way to incorporate that into what you're doing every day. Because, time is the illusion that we've constructed to measure our experience here incarnate on Earth. So when we wish away 80% of it, that we waste a whole bunch of time, then why even bother being here for so long, right? If we sit here and focus so much on things like why I don't feel well, why I feel misaligned, how sick I am, how terrible things are, how scared I am about this, and avoiding things because I'm afraid of them. Wow, we're just so preventing ourselves from truly stepping into who we are. And so, we talk about all these terms like enlightenment and ascension and all that kind of stuff. But what if it is simply just allowing ourselves to be fully the divine beings that we are, which means I am fully capable to push myself to do whatever I'm guided from my. And in doing so, I hold this higher vibration. I help others hold a higher vibration, and I enjoy myself here. It wasn't until I really got into this stuff, right, over the past decade, that I really started to realize that how to enjoy my life, how to enjoy living, like truly enjoy, not just, oh yeah, I'm happy I got my, the husband and the kids and the, white picket fence and all that kind of stuff. No, because that's where we stop many times, because that's what we've been told is going to make us happy. And I've had people come in to see me who say, there's one woman I just laugh about, because I always say you could write all these books and nobody would believe they're true because of everything she's been through in her life. And what an adventure, like huge adventure. And she's in her late 40s. And she said to me, how she feels so inadequate and unworthy. And I'm like, well, why? And she says, I'm like, why? Looking at everything she's done, like she's lived everywhere. And it's just incredible, some of the experiences. And she said, well, because, look at my sister who has, the kids. And this is what she said to me, the kids, the house, the white picket fence, the great husband, the great career. And I'm like, and yet look at what you've done. I said, did you want kids? She's like, oh, I never really thought about it. She goes, no, I guess it's too late. And I'm like, well, I don't know if it's too late. I said, but do you really want them? And she's like, well, no, it never really occurred to me. I just was busy doing my life. And I said, right. I said, but so then why are you wrong for that? Like, but she had this whole thing hanging over her head where she believed that she was wrong because her sister had that life that everybody thinks is perfect, right? The marriage, the kids, the house, the career, all that kind of stuff. And because she had something that was alternative to that, and she'd had sort of a wild life, and she'd lived in San Francisco for a while, and then she lived here and there, and she did this and she did that, and she saw some really intense things and had some huge experiences. And there she is sitting there telling me that she was inadequate. And I was like, that she felt inadequate. And I was like, well, you think your sister ever might think that about you, like herself? Because like, oh, well, I settled for this. Sometimes that's what happens. A lot of times, these sibling experiences, if the grass is always greener kind of thing. And I'm like, so just come to acceptance that this is your life and this is how you chose to have it, right? how you chose to, oh, I forgot to turn off my thing. My thing, my phone is making sounds. But I said, you chose this and you have run with it and you have had such a fabulous, and gosh, you should just go write some books. Write some books about it, because people would, it was great fiction. Fiction. But that's what we do, is we get into this place where we live a life that we're told we're supposed to be happy in. And so, and there's a large majority of people who are not actually happy in that construct of what we have culturally created to be, you know, what a happy life is supposed to be. And so part of the time, you know, a good portion of the time, people come in for me to give them permission, to give themselves permission to do what their heart really wants. So, and then it's so much getting past self-judgment. It's getting past this place where you're judging yourself based on how others are judging you, because we're so entrained to be motivated by the way others see us and judge us. You know, that's a cultural thing too. Like, actually cultural, it's all around the world, like from the beginning, right? What our parents think, what our family thinks, what our society thinks, you know, oh, you can't do that because what would they think? Oh, that's not allowed because you can't, you know. And I guess because my nature, my entire life has been, go ahead and tell me I can't do something. It just motivates me to do it more. And this is, it's very important. It's a very important basis, because spiritually, we keep ourselves in boxes and we keep ourselves blinded to what our heart, the heart of our higher consciousness is really driving us to do, right? So many allow it to be squashed. So I'm here today to give you permission. If there's something that you've wanted to try, you know, it's funny. I laugh, and I posted about this too within the past week. You know, I think I got my first degree black belt. I think I was in my late 30s, right? Mid to late 30s. And I got my second degree black belt in Taekwondo, and just before I turned 40. And, you know, I got my scuba license all in my 40s. I got my license. I've done all this traveling because I've allowed myself to really explore what I love to do. And when I do that, guess what? There's a great quote, Paul Coelho in the book The Alchemist. If you do what your heart wants, I can't remember the quote exactly. That's so funny. It's like sort of ringing in my head, but you know, the whole universe will conspire for you to get it. You know, if you know what you want, the universe will conspire for you to get it. So energetically, that's the same thing. If we allow our heart to lead the way, and not the ego, and not the heart of the ego either, because that's the emotional, you know, the thing that we always say, oh, I'm passionate, I can't help it, you know, or, you know, anyway, it's the things that we feel pure and happy that allow us to be happy, and without depending on others, right? Without it being, oh, well, my wife, my husband makes me happy, my kids, or whatever. No, it's what allows you to express your happiness naturally so that you have a better time with everything in your life. That's like one of the fundamental things for us to shift around in our realities. We're so used to putting our happiness last and everybody else's, and expectations, fulfilling expectations first. But if we put into this place, you know, like a lot of times people think, well, I'm not going to do this because, you know, my kids will be, you know, like my kids expect this of me, my spouse expects this of me. And I'm like, well, but if you fulfill this, right, if you allow yourself to express your happiness, then you're going to find a natural balance. It's just going to naturally rebalance. And will it be bumpy? Sometimes, because we've been so ingrained in expectations and what other people think, that they come to expect us to be a certain way and to do certain things. And when we shift that to a different place, in the beginning, it can be a little bumpy because you're breaking all those expectations. And yes, will they judge you? Probably, but sometimes, not probably, sometimes, because I always tell people it's none of your business what other people think of you, because it has nothing to actually do with you. It has to do with where they are. So a lot of times if you go and pursue something that's in your heart, other people will judge you, and they'll say, oh, well, she's so selfish or he's so selfish. But here's the thing. A lot of times those are the people who deep down are sort of envious or irritated themselves because they're not following their own. And there's a lot of things around that too. So part of the thing when I work with individuals is, don't worry about what other people think of you. None of your business. No matter, you can't change what they think of you because it's where they are. What's important is to come into that place of unconditional love for ourselves, and remembering that, not coming into a place, but coming to a place where we remember our unconditional love. And to do that is to really express what our unique embodiment is to be and why we're here. Give yourself permission to do something different. Give yourself permission to do something you've always wanted to do. So I was saying I got my scuba license in my 40s. I'm about to turn 50 next month. And what did I said to my husband, I have a friend who, when she turned 50, she got her pilot's license. I'm like, that would be fabulous because I would love to learn how to fly. And so I'm taking, my plan is to take an intro flying lesson and see how it goes, see how I like it. Because there's nothing that we can't do except what other people tell us we can't do. We even do that about aging, by the way. Scientists have even said our bodies are built for quite an extended presence in the physical. But it's the toxins, it's this, it's that. And you know what? Most of the toxins come from, we talk about all this stuff. And yes, we have a lot of stuff in our 3D that is toxins and toxic to our physical body. But part of it comes from our toxicity to ourselves. And where does the toxicity come from is the lack of allowing ourselves to be fully what we came here to be. See how it circles around? So it goes, going back to looking at what I was talking about with my sister and her taking piano lessons, and how many of us do things that we're just told we can't do because you don't have the body, you don't have the ability. When I teach people how to tap into their own intuition and their own, what we call psychic abilities. I've had many people say, well, I'm about as psychic as a rock. And my answer is, well, have you ever worked with crystals? Because then you might see that from a different perspective. But I'm like, we all have it. We're all connected. Energetically, we are all from a single consciousness. Is how I see it. A single divine consciousness. And what we allow ourselves to remember. We have all the answers and the abilities within. It's just allowing ourselves to unlock those abilities and remembrances. And the best way to help us to do that in all areas of our life, in all areas of our experience, is to try different things. Change it up. Do something different. The universe, or multiverse, as I call it, is really pushing us to do that right now, because it's time for us to get out of our own way. And that's pretty much the biggest obstacle that we ever have, is that we're always in our own way. So, like I said, I always laugh. I get paid for people to come in to see me, and I basically give them permission to do what their heart is telling them to do. We'll give them permission to let themselves give themselves permission to do what their heart is going to do, because this way then they feel like it's okay, because they feel like it's bad or wrong for them to do what they want to do that might be different than the expectations and the judgments of those around them. And so that has to do with worthiness, things underneath it energetically. And that's what we work on, right? So one of the things that I talk about often is, coming into that place of unconditional self-love, right? I posted about that this morning too. And part of this whole process of allowing ourselves to do what we want to do, regardless of what other people judge us for or expect of us or whatever, is having that faith of the divine within, that I am perfect as I am embodied for what it is I came here to do. And then if you allow that to come through without filtering it through, fear, without filtering it through judgment, your evaluation of yourself based on the judgment of others, it's amazing what we can do. Look at just the variety of things that people are doing today And what I always tell people is don't like fit into a box. Like people say, well, I want to be this, right? I want to do this. One story I talk about a lot is my friend who, when I was working with her for an extended period of time, I said, well, what does your heart want to do? What would you be doing if you allowed your heart to sing in bliss 24 hours a day? Ask yourself that. And she said to me, she hesitated. And I said, oh, see, with the hesitation, I said, right away, I know the ego is trying to intervene because there's the but. And she was like, well, I want to dance. I said, well, so dance. But that's the ego. All the reasons why you can't. All the lack reasons. And I said, no. And she's like, well, I'm in my 40s at the time, all that kind of stuff. And I said, there's so many different ways to dance. So do it. So she became a Zumba instructor. She became another kind of instructor. She created, eventually, and she got into energy work. And eventually she combined the two. And I know more and more people who are doing that. I know another friend of mine who is, who's been a dancer professionally when she was younger, and she stopped, and now she's like sort of getting back to that, but she's also in energy work, and she's a yoga instructor. And she said, you know, I have this whole different level of yoga that I have created with, you know, like in my own practice, where I use the energetic consciousness to into where I have limitations and friction within my body. You know, when I feel like stiffness or resistance, I go into the cells and I energetically, really consciously release what I'm holding in there. And a lot of times things from other lifetimes comes up, other experiences, things that she just had no connection to, like in her hips or, you know, in a joint. And now she's working with people. She's going to start working with people on doing that. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Look how beautifully unique it is. And we have so many of those opportunities, but it's like, that's what we came here to do, is to be our unique note in this symphony. The more unique we allow our note to be, the more full and complete the symphony is. And then, yes, that's the ascension. So it all starts with giving yourself permission. So give yourself permission. I have so many people that I just ask them what allows them to express their joy, and no idea, because they've had such a long life of fulfilling expectations of others and what others expected them to be and all that kind of and do. And so I'm like, well, so find it. Try different things. Take a photography class. Take this. And yes, things in the arts are really good at that, because even if you don't do it long term, right? And even if it's not your ultimate thing, allowing ourselves to better express ourselves, like via the arts, affects the right brain, which is where our intuition lies, and our non-linear concepts and stuff, and our come through. It actually helps us to be more well-rounded and to really be able to see ourselves more clearly. So that is it for today. Try this week. Try something new. Ask yourself, if I could do anything, and I can, what would I do? What would I start doing? Like, really, if I end up going to get my pilot's license, right? What am I going to use that for? A flight every now and then? Maybe I'll use it for more than that. I don't know. I travel a lot. So who knows, right? Maybe feed, as my husband says, maybe feed one hobby, you know, have one hobby, expensive hobby, to feed another, because we like to scuba dive. So it's like, oh, well, I can rent a plane and go scuba dive someplace. But it doesn't even matter, because it's something my heart says, well, you know, you want to remember how to fly, so find ways to remember how to fly. Well, there's one way. I can learn how to be a pilot. It doesn't matter about age or where I am or who I am, or if that's what my heart tells me. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to try, you know, a lesson, see how it goes. So try something. You don't have to even follow through with the whole thing. It's just try different things. A great movie I talk about all the time, and it's so funny because it's sort of like hidden in plain sight, is the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey, which, you know, sort of goofy, but it's really, really, it's really true in terms of saying yes. If we say yes to ourselves, well, what if I try this? What if I try this? What if I tried something I always wanted to do? Or, oh, okay, I want to take lessons. So I want to do this. And you never know how it comes around. So I highly recommend that movie, and just watch it from that perspective of a larger consciousness on how things come around and tie together when we allow ourselves, because saying yes is allowing ourselves. So allow yourself this week. Have fun with that. And then we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me. This is Angela Coulter. closing out on living the shift. See you next time.